Hi everyone, and welcome to the webinar, A Pragmatic Approach to Cloud Adoption. My name is Tijmen Welen, and I'm one of the marketers at DevOps Netherlands. And today I will be the host of the webinar. But of course, I brought someone with me. So welcome, David. I'm super happy that you're here. And of course, you're the expert on the topic, and you're going to present the webinar today. But before you will introduce yourself, David, I'd first like to give some information about who we are as a company. So you can go to the next slide, David. Yeah, next one, please. Thanks. So Devo Team is a leading consulting firm that focuses on digital strategy, platform technologies, cybersecurity, and business transformation. And we do see technology as a means to make the world around us better. Our consultants help companies to operate more efficiently, effectively, and sustainable, and that all in a digital way. And the tech world is big, as you already know, I think. And we obviously don't do everything. So what do we do is cloud native, integration. We do data and DevOps. Those are our biggest strengths. And we do this with roughly 10,000 tech experts in Europe and the Middle East. And to do this to the best of our ability, we choose to work with only the best technologies in the world. So our strategic partnership focus is with Microsoft, Salesforce, but also Google. And we also have local partnerships with Elastic, Atlassian, and Red Hat. This is how we make the difference for our customers. And in both local and international markets, and with more than 2,000 satisfied clients, we guide organizations to digital competitive advantage. Besides that, also some basic information about the webinar itself. Of course, you have the possibility to ask questions via chat. I will monitor them during the webinar. And at the end of the webinar, we will have a short Q&A session where we will answer these questions. So then I think I'm ready, and I hope you're ready, David. So take it off.
Thank you, Tijmen. So hello and welcome. I'm David Hotun. I'm lead consultant at DevoTeam. I'm working for mCloud because I'm Microsoft boy. Today I'm going to present pragmatic cloud adoption approach. So I think the goal of this webinar is to make a world a bit better and provide you instruments to simplify the cloud adoption discussion. So the program for today, we will start from the cliffhanger. And we'll go through the definitions of cloud adoption, how to drive cloud adoption, how to gauge and evaluate the organizational maturity. And of course, we will wrap up with the practical aspects on how to put all these things together. So before we go to the cliffhanger, there will be another cliffhanger. Could you please drop a few numbers into the chat so I can get content and expectations suited? So how would you rate your cloud company's cloud adoption progress on the scale of 0 to 10, where the 0 is on the ground or on-prem and 10 is totally in the clouds? So guys, whenever you feel, you can drop it. So yeah, I can do the more specific. The next magic number I would like to know is how would you rate your technical involvement in cloud adoption? So are you managing or you're doing the everyday clouds? You're a hands-on practitioner with all the administration tasks, DevOps, and other interesting things.
Yeah, I see a 6 coming in. And a 7.
Okay, thank you. So, and the last one before the cliffhanger. How would you rate the alignment between business and IT on 0 to 10? So 0, it's you guys are not aligned, and 10 is the total alignment. The synergy, the business enablement.
So I see a 4 and a 5.
Okay, so the mid ones. Okay, then I think the content would be pretty useful for everybody. So, of course, let's start from the cliffhanger, because I remember that one of the phrases was on the promotion page was how to successfully fail the cloud adoption. So the most common ways to fail cloud adoption is adopt cloud without clear vision. If you don't have a vision, just go for cloud because it's trendy, no need to research. no need to do business cases. It's time, it will be really non-beneficial. The second thing is, of course, the miscommunication aspects. Even if you have a mission, but it's not clearly communicated on all levels, from the business one to the technical one and the management. And from the technical aspects, the security and governance is usually left over for the next phase, and that causes some unpleasant surprises, which sometimes winds back the adoption efforts like totally. And from the resourcing point of view, sometimes there is a pure belief that internal team can do everything, that they don't need any help or support, any timing or whatever, any commitments. On the other hand, there is a belief that the external team will do everything for you, just like, here is your cloud, here you go, and then the gap in between kills the adoption. So in my opinion, the possible root cause of all these things is a different views on the cloud adoption, how different group of people within the enterprise see it. And I would like to cover it in the next slides. So what is a cloud adoption? Let's start from the typical marketing view. And probably you know, this is the Gartner's hype cycle diagram, which basically shows the expectations over time for any kind of technology. The interesting part about it that there is a second view on it, the utility part, so the pragmatical one, when actually technology starts to bring the benefits. And according to last decade of Gartner's research, cloud adoption was moving like this. So in 2010, it was a peak of inflated expectations. So it was a golden promise to sort everything, all the problems will be sorted, just go to cloud, close the data center, go to cloud, it will work. Then by 2014, it got really down because lots of money were poured in without any planning or targets or whatsoever, without clear vision on what to do. And there were lots of cases when the industries were pulling back, so-called cloud repatriation. So in order to solve this issue, major players somewhere around 2015 came up with the documentation and the recommended approaches to do that. So-called cloud adoption frameworks, like Microsoft Cloud Adoption Framework, AWS Cloud Adoption Framework, Google Adoption Framework. And that gave the results. So by the 2022, the industry overall starts to move closer to the slope of enlightenment. So it's the moment when the cloud adoption is actually generating value on an expected and predictable manner. So people actually know what they're doing. It's not dark magic anymore. And after these 7 years of doing random stuff, we can have a look at how does cloud adoption look like from the enterprise point of view. And formally speaking, cloud adoption is just an operational aspect of a mid-term cloud strategy plan, which is a part of long-term business strategy. Let's go a bit further in details, lots of letters. So there is a long-term business strategy of the company, which comes from CEO or the board of directors, and it's intended for everyone to get the company's mission. On top of that, you're getting strategic plans on how actually to get to those long-term business vision. Midterm plan include cloud strategy. Then this cloud strategy contains some aspects like operations, security, automation, and other ones. And out of operational aspect, you are actually having cloud adoption. And there you can do cloud implementation or cloud migration and other stuff. So as you see, this is more or less organized, and the people usually confusing that the operational aspects with the long-term business strategy, like closing data center. Is it a business strategy? Don't think so. So let's go deeper to the technical guys. How do they see or perceive the cloud adoption? There are also basically two corner cases. The one is the over-skeptic. So it's just remote infrastructure. It's just remote PCs doing some stuff. The problem of this view is that it's hard to realize real cloud benefits with the old view on things. So people usually stuck in infrastructure as a service part, and it's not always beneficial. On the other hand, some guys are over-optimistic about that. So it's a new fancy toy, it's a cloud, it's serverless, you do SQL databases, you do AI analysis, and then you get your bill in the end and like, oh, wow. So obviously some practical perspective needed to join all these things in one view to have a common discussion field. So, and my take on that one is the pragmatic, practical view. So first you start with the business goals and the clear outcomes. Like once again, closed data center is not a business goals unless you're specialized in closing data centers. Optimize value of IT infrastructure could be part of the business goals, but like this is the question for the business guys to come up with it. Once you define business goals, you go with the cloud, with the cloud strategy, which is just one single slice there. So what are the possible options to do it? Again, closing data center is not a strategy. It's an operational aspect. You can phrase it like support business by providing unprecedented value optimized technical capabilities. Sounds fancier and more specific to the cloud strategy. Yes, so once you've done your business goals and you know the options to get there, you need to know where is your company at the moment, and both from the technical and non-technical aspects. So the assessment part comes here, which is very important because you need to be realistic and pragmatic on what you want to achieve. And finally, to get all these things together in motion, you need a journey map. So how to actually implement all the things. And the cloud adoption framework comes here to the salvation. Yes. When I was presenting this slide before, somebody asked me, David, why you're presenting it from right to left, not from left to right? And the point is that it's actually just a representation of previous slide of the aspects. So we can have a look at it from the long-term business strategy, go back, or we can start from operationalizing it and going to the long-term, trying to figure out the benefits on the go. So let's try to start now from the journey map and switch over to cloud adoption framework. Yes, unfortunately, cloud adoption framework is not really a glass orb to solve all the issues and show all the caveats and just you drop it and everything is done, you're in the cloud. This is actually a life cycle framework which provides tools and guidance for implementing not only cloud technologies, but also business, people, and process changes to adopt Azure with confidence and control. And the good thing, it's updated regularly. So let's go through the pillars of cloud adoption framework. It starts from the defining strategy and understanding motivation and the business outcomes and the justification and the putting the right organizational priority into the project. Because if company is not supporting, if organization is not supporting cloud adoption in the proper way, it could be very hard to go with adoption. So then you move to the plan. You look at your digital estate, at skills available at organization, and then you can start drawing up the cloud adoption plan. So basically that's an assessment point, and we will cover the assessments at the later stages in the webinar. Then the ready part starts. So it's the point where the operating model gets narrowed down, where you start designing actual technical solutions and you're getting the landing zones. Again, landing zones will be covered at a later stage, but sometimes people start from landing zone. So we want to adopt the cloud, we start from the landing zone. And finally, the adopt part goes, the migration, modernization, and innovation. The good thing is that innovation sometimes could be very disruptive. So the strategy could even change and the cycle starts from the beginning. The other great thing about cloud adoption framework that it actually covers the the important parts which are often forgotten, like securing, managing, and governing the deployments. So the secure pillar is about the technical risk management. So basically, how secure is your platform? The governance, on the other hand, is focused on the business risks. So the policies, GDPR, and all the other magic words which can do the life very good or very bad. And managing, of course, the business commitments to keep the company business commitments aligned during the implementation phase, and the looking for the operation maturities improvement. Yes, so like every part of these slides can take the whole webinar and even more to go through. The good thing that it's very thoroughly documented on Microsoft page, so the link will be in the end for the most patient ones. The second good thing is that you can navigate easily through the pillars, but in the end, if you want to adopt cloud successfully, all pillars would be covered. Like whenever you start, you can start from landing zone, or you can try to innovate. But once you innovate, you need to see how your skill set is aligned with the innovation pace. So Cloud Adoption Framework just provides the step-by-step guidance, which is proven and tested by Microsoft. So let's move on to the gouging part. How do you actually estimate where is your company? On the global level, you can use Capability Maturity Model Integration Program, which is CMMI. It covers all the processes of organization, and it's actually a whole process on its own. It can take quite a while, so I'm not going to go deep inside. The important things, probably you heard about the processes maturity levels. So you have any process can be gouged from 1 till 5, where 1 is like there is no process or it's done ad hoc, and 5 it's optimizing process. So you are doing it every time better and better. But again, the CMMI covers all the processes in organization. I'm not sure that the business part is important here. So the narrowed down version of CMMI is called CMM, or WACA CMM, Open Alliance for Cloud Adoption, Cloud Maturity Model. It was initially designed by Open Data Center Alliance, which comprised small companies like Shell, eBay, Lockheed Martin, and even CERN. So basically, this is the focused version of CMMI, but it focuses only on cloud-specific things. On the practical aspect, this is the 31 tab of Excel spreadsheet, and it's accompanied by 60 pages PDF manual. Links will be also on the bottom. So, but it really allows you to see which processes have to be covered more or less, and they actually create the field for discussion on where you want to go and what are the realistic goals. Like, can you go from automation from 0 to 5 within half a year? Probably yes, probably no. So the practical aspects. Let's imagine you know your org processes maturity, the technical process maturity is fine. You have something already running in the cloud. Perhaps this cloud is Azure. Like, how do you know whether your deployment is good, whether it fits the Microsoft best practices? Here, the answer is Microsoft or Azure well-architected framework. So it has 5 pillars of architectural excellence, surrounded by 6 supporting elements on how to get to this excellence. So the architectural pillars are reliability, so the ability of system to recover from failures and continue to functions, the security, and so the protection of data and threats, and governance, by the way, is a part of security aspect. The performance efficiency tells for its own. And recently, Microsoft even added, but not formalized yet, the environmental aspects. So how do you calculate the carbon offset of your deployment? Yes, and so in order to get to these 6 architectural pillars, Microsoft proposes to use the supporting elements. So the Azure Advisor, for example, the tool from Azure which gives you recommendations on how to do better your deployment. Or you can go for a well-architected review. The process of technically gouging your deployment from all the aspects of from the architectural framework. Sorry, I got thirsty. So yes, now the next question. We have reviews like what is Microsoft recommendation? How to go properly to the cloud? The answer is the crown jewel of cloud adoption framework and well-architected framework, because it's perfectly engineered and aligned with all the frameworks and the baselines. So incorporating both technicals and organizational aspects. If you go from the architectural point of view, it would be something like that. Azure Landing Zone is an output of multi-subscription Azure environment that accounts for scale, security, governance, networking, and identity, that enables application migration, modernization, and innovation at enterprise scale in Azure. So basically, when you hear enterprise scale and Azure, that means there will be lots of squares, numbers, resources, and quite complicated stuff. So technically speaking, the landing zone is an environment for hosting workloads, pre-provisioned through code that accounts for scale, security, and governance, networking, and identity. The key word here is provisioned through the code. So that gives organizations ability to ramp up their cloud presence in a couple of hours or days, or sometimes weeks, maybe months. But again, that depends on the maturity and readiness and whether it was really looking pragmatic before. So not typical landing zone design process involves specific set of steps. And in order to be pragmatic, those steps have to be tailored for specific customer needs and for your specific organizational case. So let's have a quick look on what are the aspects of landing zone designs. Again, it can start from anywhere. Let's go one by one. So the first one is the billing and Active Directory tenant. So basically, who pays for that and who manages the identity? So who gives access to that environment? And depending on organizational size and the structure, there are different answers to this question. Then we go to identity and access management. Are you going to federate? Are you going to use your on-premise environment as the identity source, or you go cloud native? So, and all of these questions also give lots of other options further. So basically, every aspect can have its own webinar or even set of webinars. Yes. Security and management governance. So security and governance have a separate Microsoft portals on the aspects. So it's endless topic for discussion. The good thing is that governance is quite well automated inside the Azure. So you can have a technical governance, which is not a formal one when you go with a piece of paper. So basically, you can restrict resources to be only compliant to specific policies, for example, data residency. Yes, so as I told you, there are lots of things to go through and it looks a bit scary. But the good thing is that there are quick starters available for typical needs. For example, foundation landing zone for starters. So it's basically core infrastructure services which allow you to just practice and to see if it works for your case, and then to extend as needed. Or app application service, or basically web application landing zone to host your specific workloads. Just put developers, give them GitHub access, and they will start deploying website right away. Or you can go to more complicated cases like API management, which is good when you would like to integrate your existing systems under one umbrella. So there is a Microsoft architecture portal which has all the possible options for that, including landing zone quick starters. The links will be in the end. So let's put a quick summary on previous slides. What are the prerequisites for the beneficial landing zone deployment? How you make it more or less realistic? I separate them into the technical aspects which allow you to implement the things with confidence, and the non-technical. So basically the aspects which enable the implementation of the cloud and successful cloud adoption. Out of the technical, the base ones are infrastructure, networking, and identity access management aspects. So you need to be sure what you're actually doing. So how does it look? Because despite the fact that cloud is something running on somebody else's PC, nobody removes responsibility on proper IP address planning, for example, or performance planning. Then, of course, if you go with the infrastructure as a code, then infrastructure as a code technical stack should be covered more or less, like Bicep, IRM. Well, IRM is going away, I think, but Bicep is a trendy thing, and Terraform if you go not only Azure but other clouds. From the non-technical aspects, the important one, of course, the organizational maturity and alignment. The cloud adoption should be tailored and should be aligned with the capabilities of organization to deliver the things. And it has to be more or less realistic. Yes, sponsorship, budgeting, obvious. And the pragmatism, I put it once again. So often companies just think that they could reach the clouds, but they don't even know why do they want to do it. Or a small company requests enterprise landing zone, and it's like for 10 people. Why would you go for that? It's not clear. The good thing is that there are shortcuts, and as shortcuts, they come with some caveats to watch out for. So on the shortcuts, you have landing zone accelerators, as I was showing before. You have infrastructure as a code modules, so you can actually get all the ready-made scripts, try yourself in YOLO scripting, and get everything deployed like with a click. From the non-technical shortcuts, of course, the management mandate and organizational ad hoc organizational agility is a very good thing. So even if organization is very siloed, if you have a proper management support, you can just shortcut and circumvent some processes, which really gives the benefit on adopting and the agility. On the other hand, there are caveats. From the technical ones is the steep learning curve and the possible complexity from the day zero. So you can imagine today you don't have a landing zone, you click within like 2 hours, and Azure portal, you're getting enterprise ready landing zone with the firewalls, load balancers, and a bunch of subscriptions. That really leads to lack of control and complexity, because you don't know what is actually happening in the environment. So like basic landing zone deployment involves like 450 resources or something like that. So it's pretty much. On the non-technical caveats, as I told multiple times, so if there is no clear vision and no commitments which are supported over time, the cloud adoption will be under the threat to being dropped in the middle. Yes, so the good news is that you can choose not to do the journey alone, like in this saying. If you want to go fast, go alone, and if you want to get far, get a team. And now we switch to another selling part. So DevTeam proposes a wide range of technical and organizational activities supporting smooth rollout and a full support during the journey. We have both technical teams and non-technical teams, which are experts in their field. The technical teams aspects which I would like to highlight is the tailored landing zone design aligned with cloud adoption framework. Because what is the problem usually is when delivering the solution which one size fits all. So regardless of what you want, you get enterprise landing zone, or regardless of your cloud maturity, you get foundation landing zone, which is basically not usable in your case. The second thing which we are trying to address is the joint delivery. So we try to involve the customer teams as much as possible and with the possible upskilling on the go. So the people are not getting surprised or left alone with this technical gift. On the non-technical part, the business case creation and the strategy shaping, because sometimes companies just like, yeah, we heard of cloud, but we really don't know where to plug it in our case. So we have a special team for that, the digital impulse team, which do the high-level business planning. And in the worst case, you can go even for operations outstaffing if you don't have a fulfillment team to do that. But that's all for the sales team at the later stages. So let's wrap the things up. There are basically two cloud journeys options if you start from the greenfield. You can go with the organic one, which is the top route. Usually you go for unmanaged adoption. Then unmanaged adoption, it gives really good agility, but it's often uncontrolled. So basically you are having 5 global administrators who click through and then name resources as they want, and then something happens. Usually at that moment, centralized adoption kicks in when the Cloud Center of Excellence is formed, which controls all the aspects and provides services internally. This is also a very good step, but on the longer run, with the cloud maturity increase, the Cloud Center of Excellence can be actually a limiting factor, because all the requests are going into the one place, and sometimes parts of, especially in the big organizations, some parts require bigger, greater level of agility. And so the organizations move to decentralized operations or decentralized adoption when the multiple operating models being combined, but in the proper manner. Yes, so at any point of time, the organization can be mindful and go through the assessment and to check what are the actual states and what are the actual targets. Then go for cloud adoption framework onboarding and proceed with the pragmatic adoption. So there is quite a chance that unmanaged adoption is fine on this level. So you just need to fix few things to go and go for it further, because the agility is priority number 1 without security. In some cases, centralized adoption is the only way. So this is actually all aligned with the operating models. So the decentralized operations, central operations, enterprise operations, and the distributed operations, which is basically combination of all the 3 ones, but with some governance put in place. The more details about operating models will be also in the links in the end of the webinar. So as you can see, there's plenty of documentation. So the organization can do it on themselves following the links, or the other options is to do it with a team of experienced Devo team professionals who are always happy to help you. The choice is always yours. So yeah, happy journey. Okay, so that's just a list of useful links. They are more or less aligned with the story I was telling. So you have the organizational maturity models, the cloud adoption framework, the cloud adoption framework anti-patterns. Oh, I forgot to mention those. So this is basically the list of typical technical caveats or non-technical, which Microsoft gathered. So companies can identify the use cases and to watch out for them. The well-architected framework documentation, the security documentation, and the service trust portal. Basically, this is the governance portal, which shows how Microsoft tries to fit all the possible compliance and regulations, and how you can deploy that in your Azure environment using the policies and other technical aspects. The well-architected review, yes, the technical review, which I was mentioning before. Landing zone quick starts, and of course the Azure Architecture Center with lots of typical models and recommended solutions. Okay, I don't see any questions. Thank you for the silence.
Me neither. Yes, so then I think one final part. I'd like to thank the audience for being here today. And of course, this session is also being recorded. So I will send over the on-demand version of the webinar as well to you. If there are any questions left, then please send us an email on nl.marketing@devoteam.com, or you can reach David, of course, as well. So that's
We'll be
it, I
happy to
think,
help you.
David. We'll be
Thank
happy to
you.
help you. Thanks,
Thank
David, for
you.
being here, for sharing your thoughts on this topic. And again, thanks for being here, everyone. So I'm closing the webinar for now. Thanks
Bye.
and bye bye.